soul is the cell of God's body. All souls before separating was into a single body, where there was energy in one identity. When the God's body split into souls for the creation, it was with the intervention of the Holy Spirit of God. So each soul, once divided from God, took specific amount of spirit. This resulted in each soul took its own identity. The principle of the soul is pure energy. That was when the single body of God produced their God's logic. The term God's logic cannot exactly describe the operation of the God's body. Simply identifies something that can understand the human mind. The souls, though disrupted, actually remain well connected with the God's body and report to it and taking reference from this. The purpose of this division of the God's body, independent small amounts of energy with spirit, soul, is the creation of the known world, and the purpose of this creation is to provide the answer, the documentation and proof of God's self, that God is love, which is the only reason for the existence of God, and this must be demonstrated in a creation which will have the freedom, independence and the impartial determination. So the cause, the reason will be answered, so God himself will determine, through himself, through the souls which together will act as independent, calculating machines, to produce the ultimate God's equation, thus demonstrating just cause existence of God. God is the perfect being, has no need creation to prove, because he have his self-knowledge. The disagreement with Satan is something that proves the free will that God has allowed in every being born of his thought. Free will is the main ingredient of love. Satan, who puts the disagreement, wants to prove the imperfection of love. This would mean that God's love does not possess the perfect and pure causal to be God, and the creation will eventually produce the evidence and the answer to this disagreement. Two basic primary elements. It is the energy and spirit. Energy in the natural world is vibrated at a specific frequency defined at jiving from the God's body. The vibration of this energy is exactly what creates the secondary elements, space and time. Space and time cannot have one without the other. That is what needs soul to exist outside from God's body. In this way, the soul acquires mass and can be enclosed in a human body which is governed by natural laws. So initially soul is energy. In the division of God's body, adding with spirit and vibration, frequency and vibration make space-time. Soul communicates expressed and take information from the outside world through the spirit. Spirit has not vibrational frequency. Soul vibrates spirit with the same frequency. In the spirit contain two key elements, imagination and logic. These two elements are essential tools of the spirit with which the soul is expressed. This expression is called personality. Spirit connected with the human brain in certain areas therein which make specific functions such as memory, conscious and unconscious, images, sounds, sensations. All within the brain are electromagnetic signals between neurons where the spirit of the encoding accordingly to send the soul. Also desires that are born in the soul, the spirit decoded and sent to the body. Through the spirit, immaterial soul can intervene to affect matter. Spirit contains the dipole imagination, logic. This is the basic mechanism of the spirit which rests to the conscious, subconscious and memory. Spirit connected to human brain and recognizes regions. Memory and subconscious communicate through a very narrow way. Memory is located in front of the subconscious. When imagination or logic needs informations that make through the conscious and from memory, but memory has a very limited amount of information. All information is in the subconscious, where there anything recorded from human's life. Conscious cannot easily read informations from subconscious, that need meditation and mind control. Subconscious looks like an instigator in a theater. He is always invisible and guides depending on the information it contains. Imagine the function of the brain. We will say that we are the spectator. Conscious scene of the theater with actors is our thought, instigator lying in front of them and guiding them, subconscious, and is not visible. If spectator wants to communicate with instigator, should be concentrated on him and ignore the scene. Instigator makes the scenario in this scene with imagination and logic. Memory in this metaphor will be some papers that keep the spectator with informations about his life, but instigator is the one who knows everything about life of spectator. Whichever scenario selected, never will not be able to stay completely unaffected by instigator. Spectator has the opportunity to choose subject, but instigator has the ability to guide the actors. Spectator's imagination and logic perform desire of his soul. Spirit is the one that speaks to the actors. When show progresses influenced by instigator, what returns to the instigator's soul is the result of an expression that soul accepts it as something natural, since soul does not have logic to process it. In fact, it is not normal. Is something else, and just spectator accepts it as normal. It is obvious that thoughts shape the spectator's entertainment. Perhaps spectator wants to make a good scenario, but if instigator turn pessimistic, so it will go back to the spectator's soul and will accept it as it is. Instigator is not enemy, it's just uncontrollable. Subconscious contains basic informations, and one of them is what we call self-preservation instinct. Without subconscious would be impossible to survive, but contain the fears, failures and many other things, which affects thought that wants to be good. It's really strange how mind works. Why cannot the conscious to fully control our brain? The answer to this is that it is done only in a way that man should want himself to do that, and this method is called self-knowledge. God who wants his creation to discover himself, and that is why he gave this way spirit function. If man created as God's image, so he wanted to do in his creation. But the self-knowledge is something difficult, requires the person's interest in spiritual pursuits, substance and ideals, liberation from matter and sin, measure in pleasures. Self-knowledge is the only requirement that must be the humanity.